All right, I am excited. This chapter, it's not going to be major breakdown of themes or anything, but there are a couple things that happen that I think are definitely going to be important for the plot. So, just going through some of the little points here, we have Gaz and his wife Thordy, and she is out making some kind of stone patterns. I don't know if that's some sort of ritually thing that she's up to, if she's gotten into some sort of thing, but we'll be keeping an eye on that. Now, the main thing, or one of the main things, is Barathol, and he's been reaching these roadblocks, or reaching a roadblock with the Blacksmith Guild, and they have this monopoly on that. And it just reminds me, I haven't spent a lot of time in the last few books talking about Rome. I did for Memories of Ice a lot, and with House of Chains and some of the links that are there. And this is one of those things that did kind of make me think of that. Now, the Malazan Empire, much like the Roman Empire, was very leery of guilds. Now, I love reading, I love history, and I love reading the accounts of the Romans. I love reading a lot of these letters between governors. Some of the most famous ones are like Pliny the Younger about the Christians. He was sent to Bithynia Pontus, which is just south of the Black Sea, kind of northern Turkey, where there were he was sent there specifically by the emperor, Emperor Trajan, who was a Spaniard by blood. And he was sent over to kind of figure out some of the money issues and things that were going on. He was a little bit more of a pencil pusher than his uncle who had adopted him, Pliny the Elder, who had compiled the natural histories and things like that. Just compiling all this information from people all over. The Romans were kind of obsessed with this. Some were obsessed with maps. I would have been more on that front, where I would have loved to gather information from people coming in about, hey, what's further east? What's further south? Anyone know if anything's over this ocean? Stuff like that. And they would get all this bogus stuff. And Pliny the Elder was kind of, he seemed very, he was just kind of out there and adventurous, it seemed, and famously went to Mount Vesuvius at that explosion over Pompeii. Saved some people there. It said, "Onward, fortune favors the bold," when the helmsman wanted to turn around, and fell asleep in a building while the ash was in the air. It was like nighttime, even though it was day. And to protect themselves from falling pumice, put pillows on their heads and made their escape. But he didn't make it out, and they later found him, and he looked as if he was sleeping. His adopted, I guess son, but Pliny the Younger, kind of rose through the ranks, did his military thing, but was more of a pencil pusher, liked to be home, liked to get oiled up, and wherever he went, even if he was hunting, would have these tablets, and became an augur, like interpreting the birds, became a consul, even though by this time it was more in name than anything, kind of doing festivals and preparing the games, and was sent, again, by Emperor Trajan, sorry, this was a tangent, to this area. And I'm not going to talk about the letters about, like, the Christians, even though very interesting. He went to these different cities, got sick along the way, and he would be reporting back to the emperor. And those are the letters that I kind of like. He sent a letter. One stands out to a governor in Greece that he knew, and he was kind of giving his advice, saying, give deference or give respect to the Greek people there and recognize how much they have given to us culturally. Don't be a tyrant, because if you're a tyrant, as soon as you're away, they start to try to figure out what they can do about that. Like, yeah. Anyway, he went to this area where there were a lot of these guilds and things, and they had a history of revolution and stuff like that. And this is bad for the empire, bad for the emperor. And he would write back. He would write back about misuse of funds and what he plans to do about it, get the workers back in, and they can pay it off that way. Sometimes he would say, hey, can we build a new public bath for this city? They could really use that. I think it would be good for this and this. And Trajan would come back and say, make sure that we're saving money, but if you think that you could do it efficiently. And he would go, and it just so rings like the Malazan Empire in a lot of ways, where they would go in, especially when it comes to guilds. And guilds can be anything. They can be religious, they can be something commercial, like a service, a guild of barbers, guild of blacksmiths in this case. And what the Malazan Empire seemed to do is they would go in and either take over this underground stuff going on, take over the economy, but also squash some of these guilds that were monopolies, keeping everyone else out. And within Darujistan, there's this blacksmith guild. But a reason why they were so dangerous is that guilds could soon turn political. Sometimes a leader might rise out of something like that, and they start talking. A natural leader. You think of the servile wars that didn't happen very far from where they were, just to the west of where they were, and there was just a lot of this going on, and they're trying to save money during this time where they're entering this golden age, or in this golden age. In Nicomedia, Pliny, a fire broke out, and Pliny wrote back and said, hey, can we do something about this? Can we start a fire brigade like has been done in other cities? And Trajan said, no, based on, because of where you are, don't do this. We don't want to start any guilds. They can be lightning rods. And so they gave him some equipment and things like that. And Trajan was all about stability. I mean, strict, but was all about stability. And you can see in their letters that they really were great administrators, in some of them. So I just think of this blacksmith thing that is happening in Darujistan, and how Barathol just saying, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. There's going to be bloodshed, obviously. We have Humble Measure, who's kind of a part of the mining part of what's going on. And it'll be interesting to see him and Barathol and the rest of the people who are upset. They're going to hate the Malazans even more if now they've come in and they're just kind of doing their own thing. And I just see this as a major, something that has potential to be a major lightning rod for this city. Anyway, I think it's not going to make him a very popular guy. We have Scorch and Lef, who are working for this Studlock guy who's wrapped up in like linens or something. They can't really see him. He might be undead, for all I know. He might be like an eye mass. Torvald is also working for him. Murillo has offered to help in Stani's school, for the dueling school, where the kids it's like the rich kids who are just kind of sent there and they don't really want to be there. I think it's the rich kids. They don't really want to be there, but Murillo, he's been taught by this guy who takes a student every 3 years. So he knows what he's talking about. You would assume from that, and we've seen him in fights. I think didn't he get? Wasn't he the one that got really injured in Gardens of the Moon? I can't recall. I might be kind of. But very, very cool. I can't wait to see if they become something. This school of fighters who don't seem to be really into it at the moment. I'll be watching them. Harlow, she just found that Harlow is gone, and she's very upset by this. Murillo offers to go help. That is exciting. Snell, he goes back to where he left him, and he's kind of upset that everyone's accusing him, even though it was his fault. But I mean, he didn't sell him off; he just beat him up. And he's scared of what Gruntle will do when Gruntle shows up. Like, I love Gruntle, but obviously he has a temper. He has temper issues. He's like the Incredible Hulk when he gets going, in a way. But I love Gruntle, and I'm, that moment in Kapistan will just be a top moment for me in the series. I love Egatan, but because of Gruntle's transformation, even though it's not necessarily a healthy transformation, I love it. I love it, and it did save a lot of people, so it's very cool. Chalice is kind of wanting to be away from her husband, wanting to kill her husband, Hank, who's also working with Humble Measure, like he's taking a tour there. Oh, wait. No, I'll get to that after. Anyway, Chalice kind of gets wooed by this. What is his name? Wrote it down here. Sordico. No, not Sordico. Shardan. And he's like, hey, I just want to. She might be getting totally swindled by him. But he really smooth talks her in saying, like, I want you to be totally free to choose, and I want you to want to be near me, and that kind of thing. And then they end up doing it and whatever. There's a lot more of that in this novel, I feel, than the other ones, but who knows. Solara wants to make Cutter jealous, which by taking Duaker and hanging on his arm, and like dressing in tight clothes. Like, I just hate that. I hate that, like obviously it's a brittle situation, and he knows that she knows that he's in love with Apsalar, but she still wants to like I hate that. I hate that crap. So whatever. I still like Solara though. Pust hitting on the High Priestess of Shadow, Sordico. It's like the funniest thing. And Magora, and they go out shopping, and it's like Iskarl Pust might be he might end up being like a top 3 or 4, 5 character for me. I just love that guy so much. The mine is owned by Humble Measure, like I said. This guy who wants to get rid specifically of, he put a hit out on the bridge burners, but he hates Malazans like a lot of the people would hate Malazans. Harlow meets this friend named Banish, and he seemed nice at first, but it seemed like crap, and he's starting to spill the beans and stuff that's going to come back to hit him. And I feel so bad for Harlow, because it just is like he keeps drawing this. He has a target on him. Just naturally, he just kind of brings that. And you see that sometimes in school, that there are just some people that just bring that sort of attention from people. And Kruppa is saying how, in the narration, he's saying how this is going to come and bite him in the butt. But he does meet a legless Talani masked there, Devad Anan Tol, who Raced was once afraid of him. And I just think, man, we've come a long way from Gardens of the Moon, when Raced was the biggest, scariest guy around. And I also am thinking that, I even the crippled god's a little bit murky. And I keep thinking, has he been beaten up tons of times the same way that Rulad was, the same way that Talk went through that? It was like, I just wonder. I wonder if there's like a bigger, badder, crippleder god behind him. Did like a Forkrel Assail bully beat up the crippled god once, and that's why he's like that? It's just, I'm very curious about all of that. And then we have kind of at the end of the chapter, we have Solara opening up to Duaker, telling him that he will connect some of the dots of what she knows about what happened with Haboric and her story. So very exciting. Not a lot on theme, but we got people moving around a little bit, so that's good. Halfway through subbook 3 now, and so I don't know. Maybe over the weekend I'll be halfway. So we'll see. Really looking forward to it. I know people say this is a slow first half. I think I enjoyed myself more with Reaper's Gale so far. As far as the plot, that was just kind of interesting to me. But I've been really enjoying myself with this one as far as the potential for some of the resolution to some of these themes, because it's just so heavy. But yeah, just looking forward to it. And I will talk to you guys on the next one. I'm going to put another video out talking about this buddy read that I'm going to be taking a part of with Matt's book review and his Discord that I'm a part of over there. It'll be starting in a few days on August 7th. I've already read this particular book, The Three Body Problem. I've read all 3, but I've decided to go through it again because I want to see other people's reactions. So I'm going to put another intro to that series. I know I've talked to it already, but if you wanted to consider maybe reading it, then you'll hear some of my thoughts there in a non-spoiler way. And then maybe if you're still not convinced to get into it, maybe a little more of like a spoilery kind of direction of the series for the last little bit of it. But I will have that clearly. I'll have that marked, or I'll say something. And it wouldn't even be that big anyway, but kind of what you would be getting into, because the first book is very much, the books 2 and 3 are kind of the showcase. Anyway, I will stop this here, and I'll talk about that in another video.